Hello, I'm Erik. I've invited my friends Greg Talley and Ryan Smith to join me in ingesting fun and bizarre foods. We'd like you to join us too. So come in and open up. It's Junkmouth. Hi, I'm Erik.
I'm Greg.
Hey, I'm Ryan.
I'd like to welcome our listeners joining us in the Roof Lizard Lounge high atop the Dino Hotel in picturesque Lakewood, Colorado, above our restaurant Paleo Joe's and near Denver and the Rocky Mountains. So, Greg, what did you bring in your fancy Mumbai tiffin today?
In my new 3-level Mumbai tiffin, in the top tier I have fried pickles, where we use dill pickles from real pickles and battered in a beer batter made from Sparrow Space Barley beer, and the most expensive beer in the universe, the barley being grown in outer space. Now in the middle level is a Gokusen banana and coco de mer nut butter sandwich made on a sourdough bread and buttered with butter made from a Tokyo adult milk, which is from cows milked just once a week at the break of dawn when melatonin builds to its highest level, allowing the milk to reduce stress. Because my lifestyle is highly stressful. In the bottom tier is a Fabergé egg cake, identical to what was originally created for the Russian imperial family. Now, Tsar Alexander III started the tradition, as the story is told, a funny story, by wanting to get something for his wife to celebrate their anniversary, which was close to the Easter holiday. Thus was born the delicious Fabergé egg. And the company has only created 50 in 32 years, and only the most affluent can afford them. I hired a hitman to bring one back from the original owner, so delightfully decadent.
Wow, yeah, after going through that, I'm sure you need that special milk, huh?
The milk relaxes me. After a good garroting and hit, I find that I need to unwind.
I'm sure. Okay. Well, then I'm going to go ahead and open my Elvis Jailhouse Rock lunchbox. And looks like today I've got a Spam, cheddar, and Dijon mustard on a baguette. I guess I'm getting a little fancy. Dijon, huh? Probably not enough for you, though, Greg.
No, it's peasant food.
Yeah. Well, at least I get to drink it with some Banana Quick. And for my dessert, I've got a plastic bag filled with Nilla wafers. So... Ryan, what have you got in your box?
Fuck you. You think I have to tell you everything I eat?
Well, that's part of the premise of the bit, so yes.
Yeah.
No. You know what? You don't get to know today. You know, I'm tired of being your little dancing monkey.
No, you know, we care about you, Ryan.
Yeah.
We want to know what you brought in your lunch because we value you as a human being. What do you have?
I don't give a fuck what you want to know. I'm not telling you.
Well, if we're extra nice to you, would you like to have some Tokyo adult milk that might help you unwind enough to tell us what you have in your lunchbox?
I'm not drinking your weird Tokyo milk.
It's milk from real citizens of Tokyo.
Move on.
Well, if we need to move on, I think we need to start by welcoming all our listeners to our bacon episode of Junkmouth. We know everybody loves bacon, and we're ready to just eat up a bunch of food that contains that wonderful, delicious, fatty part of the pig.
Did you know that pigs are probably about as smart as a 2- or 3-year-old human?
I have heard that.
Incidentally, 2- or 3-year-old humans, also delicious.
Very delicious. We can vouch for this, not just empirically, but through actual cookbooks.
Yeah.
There are cookbooks for cooking 2- and 3-year-old children?
Toddlers are amazingly tender.
Yeah, Jonathan Swift pointed that out.
You mean you don't have to, slowly barbecue them to get the meat to tenderize like you would an adult?
No, absolutely. No.
Oh, wow.
They're not as stringy as a plumber and not as fatty as a stockbroker. So, toddlers sort of hit the sweet spot when it comes to consuming human flesh.
All right. Well, at this point...
Which, by the way, I'd like to point out that we talk an awful lot about cannibalism on all our podcasts.
Well, it's an interesting topic. What can I say?
Huh? All right. Well, what I can say is that Junkmouth is the second podcast joining the Mystery Science Theater 1000 Revival League, and more recently joined by the third podcast part of the Network 10 Backward, forming the Dino Hotel Entertainment Network of America, or DINA. And I'd like to let our audience know if masticating on this show makes you want to spit something up at us. And after hearing us talk about cannibalism, I'm sure you do. Here's how you can reach us. You can get us by email. We're junkmouthpodcast@gmail.com. And you can reach us on Facebook at facebook.com/junkmouth. I also understand we're going to have another show joining the network sometime in the relatively near future. Ryan, do you want to tell us about that?
Oh, it's already up and running. It's 10 Backward by our good friends James Rowling and Ron McAdams. And they basically, it's a show about Star Trek The Next Generation. They start watching, they discuss an episode each week, but they're watching them in reverse order. So they started with the series finale, All Good Things, and they're going to go all the way through to the the pilot, Encounter at Farpoint. And there's a hell of a lot of shows to cover in that 7 seasons. So basically, it's just James and Ron talking and joking and going over an episode and latest Star Trek news, stuff like that. Give it a listen.
All right. Well, that's the one that's already started. Are we going to have another show joining the network? Maybe Greg will want to tell us about that one.
Well, at some point when we get around to it, we're going to do Geeky Drink, which is fan communities translated into cocktails and other pleasurable libations. So we might do a Firefly episode or a Mod episode or My Mother the Car. You know, hip, trendy, cutting edge franchises like that.
Yeah, I can't wait for My Mother the Car. I'm really curious how you're going to get rum in there, other than, you know what? I got Mom. She makes me drink.
It's mostly vodka and antifreeze.
The Dean Martin Celebrity Roast of Bob Newhart episode is going to be a good one. Listen for that.
I'm looking forward to it. All right, so before we get going, we need to sing for our suppers. So let's load up that reel-to-reel with the sweet Kevin Murphy jingle.
Roll the tape.
The next time you travel to Denver, make your journey into one that you'll remember. Don't just sit around and wish when you can have an expedition at the Dino Hotel. Stretch, snarl, growl.
All right. Thank you, Kevin Murphy. Before we dig in, I'm going to lay out our ground rules. So the first thing we look at are items that are not widely and nationally distributed in the USA. Then we look for foods that are actually unique. We don't just want a regional brand of something. 3, we fit our foods each week to a theme, which we've got bacon this week. And then these guys twisted my arm. I wasn't for it, but they talked me into allowing us to each have 1 pass card a week. So if there's something one of us really doesn't want to try, we have a way out of it. So,
but the cool thing is, we all like bacon. We're all at least omnivores. Ryan may be a straight up carnivore. I'm not sure. I don't think he likes vegetables, but French fries. He likes French fries. But we love ourselves some bacon. We actually did a first for the podcast, and that's that we did a field trip because I got very excited to find out something that was Elvis related that was right here in the Denver area. I had no idea, and I was just...
One of his many bastard children.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. But I was really thrilled to find out. So what was that about?
Well, we found a place. We found a chef who used to work at the Colorado Mine Company, had originally invented a sandwich that Elvis tried and loved, and he still has a restaurant here in town.
Yeah, he was 19 at the time.
He was.
He was a spry little lad when he invented this sandwich for Elvis.
Yes, he worked at the Colorado Mining Company, which was their restaurant. But you know what? We went to the place, it was called Nick's Cafe, and we got something called a Fool's Gold Loaf. But Greg, I think because you were so excited, and I think Ryan and I both enjoyed this field trip, but you got ecstatic. So I think I really want to hear your story about this place because I think you're
Really?
going to tell it better than
Do we
anyone.
really want to hear Greg's story about
Yeah,
this place?
I want to.
We do. I mean,
You don't know how long this man can talk.
all right, Mr. Nick Anderlakis, he made this sandwich called the Fool's Gold Loaf. And this is the classic Elvis bacon, peanut butter, and jelly sandwich on a loaf of French bread or sourdough. And Nick has Nick's Cafe up in Lakewood, and it's in a hole-in-the-wall shopping center next to a liquor store. It's got limited parking. It's cash only. But man, is the food good. And this was probably one of the contributing factors to Elvis's eventual death. It wasn't just the pills and booze. It was eating peanut butter and bacon sandwiches to the extreme.
Well, 11 fried chickens for breakfast probably didn't help him either.
No, it didn't.
The peanut butter sandwich was probably one of the healthier things that Elvis ate.
And I mean, Elvis loved this sandwich so much, he would charter a plane to Denver to bring back Fool's Gold sandwiches. And, this is just an amazing thing for the Denver area. I mean, it's cool that when I think Elvis history, I think you have to go to, Tennessee, or you have to go to Mississippi. But to have a Denver connection to me was amazing. And the sandwich was thick and rich and gooey and crunchy, and I can see why Elvis was just
It tastes
blown
just like
away.
a toddler.
It tastes just like a toddler.
Yeah.
But Ryan and Erik also got a Monte Cristo, and they went halvesies on the Fool's Gold. No, I went all the way in. That's all I had for breakfast, and it was so rich. I had to eat it slowly because, that was a lot of peanut butter with bacon. But God, was it good. And everything in that Chef Nick has covered his cafe, floor to ceiling with Elvis memorabilia. A lot of it is reproduction posters, but he had some original telegrams and letters and things like that on the walls. Just there's 10 tables in the place, tops?
Yeah, it's a very small place.
Yeah, he could probably seat 25, 30 people
And
tops.
very, very good prices, too. It is not an expensive place. You go in and you can get you can spend $7 and you will walk out full.
Yeah, and it's not just Fool's Gold. It's massive burritos and
Pancakes.
burgers.
Yeah,
and
I want to
food.
go back and have one of those. Those burritos were like the size of a person's head. They were
Yeah.
enormous.
So, Nick's Cafe, it's good peanut butter, it's good bacon. Come for the Fool's Gold sandwich, stay for the Elvis memorabilia, and the rest of the menu. So, Nick did something I thought was a little brave. They hand out a sheet explaining the history of the Fool's Gold, the peanut butter bacon sandwich. And there's a cartoon Nick standing at a stove, and he's got little cartoon rats in the kitchen running around his feet. So I'm like, this guy is kind of brave. He probably was a Hellcat in his younger years. I think if you teased him about Elvis, you'd probably end up with your face pressed against the griddle or something. I would not mess with Nick. I bet you even today he could take anyone.
Probably could. He's got one of those. He's one of those little guys who are built like a stack of iron. But he's a nice guy, sweet guy.
He was absolutely wonderful. I love that we got to talk to him and meet the guy behind the story. If you go in there, as long as you're just there to eat and be nice and not cause a problem, I think you're going to just have a great experience there.
Oh, yeah.
They were wonderful.
They definitely had a good cross-section of humanity in there, too. You saw the retirees, you saw the goth kids with 58 piercings in their face, and, everybody was just enjoying the sandwiches. I thought that this sandwich would probably taste pretty good, the Fool's Gold, the peanut butter, jelly, and bacon sandwich. I had a feeling it'd probably taste pretty good. I was not prepared for how good it was. It was really good.
And I think you could really tell he put real care into the ingredients on here. You could put a sandwich together that had peanut butter, bacon, and jelly on a baguette and just go buy the cheapest of each thing, and it probably would. And I guarantee it wouldn't be as good as what we have.
No. Well, for one thing,
you could
what
tell
we
it
had was
care.
hot. You know,
It was hot. You could tell there was real care to it. Was a good high quality peanut butter. You could taste that. He picked a good high quality jelly. It was good bacon, cooked nice and crisp, and it just made for a texture and a flavor that was absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, I was shocked at how I thought it would be good, but I was shocked at just how good it was. That sandwich was a 5 wrapper sandwich for me, 5 greasy wrappers.
I give it a 5 as well.
And I'm going to say let's make it unanimous. We've only had this is I think only our second thing we've got in a unanimous spot.
Yeah, but this was an easily a 5 greasy wrapper sandwich.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Fool's Gold Loaf. And not just figuratively 5 greasy wrappers. It's such a gooey sandwich, you're going to need about 5 greasy wrappers or napkins or something to eat it.
It's good though. It is worth the mess. It's a good sandwich.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. All right. You have anything else you want to add in there, Greg, before we move on?
I want to switch up your programming notes and say you got a warm drink here that's going to be gross in the 10 minutes it takes for us to talk about the next 2 segments. So let's bump up drink and come back to our other segments because I want to try this while it's still warm.
Yeah, good point.
Very well. Okay. Let's move on then. Instead of moving on to what we had planned to, we're going to move right to our drink segment. And I'm gonna hand the wrapper over here and. I'm going to say, Ryan, why don't you tell us about what we're about to drink?
We are about to drink Redneck Cafe. Is that?
It's cafe, yeah.
There's a price tag over it. Redneck Cafe, which, boy, that bodes well. Bacon
and what
hot
else?
chocolate.
What the other part that's covered up by the price tag is where it says underneath Redneck Cafe, it says, heck yeah, I'll drink that.
Holy shit. Yeah, this is... it's the design of the wrapper is by I'd say an 11-year-old with a head injury in one arm. It's basically just clip art of bacon under the words Redneck Cafe, bacon hot chocolate, natural and artificial bacon flavors, and it's just hot chocolate mix that we've mixed up into some hot water per instructions. And there's a real strong bacon smell coming off it, I'll tell you that. So who knows whether this might be great, this might be not so great.
I do want to point out the other piece that's on the kind of in the bottom left in real subtle letters does not contain real bacon pieces.
What a ripoff!
Yeah. In case you wanted to chew your hot chocolate.
Yeah. In case you thought there was going to be like an entire strip of bacon sticking out of here like a swizzle stick. No, it's all liquid.
Yeah. I will say, Greg, you've got 2 of those over by you. Would you hand one over to me?
Yeah, don't spill on the computers there, Sparky.
Yeah, that's kind of why we had it off to the side.
Okay, so we're going to... What does it smell like? Bacon?
Smells like
Bacon and hot chocolate.
Yeah.
And hot chocolate. Yeah, you smell both.
All right, well, there's nothing left to do but to try this.
Okay.
Better than I was expecting from the smell.
It's decent.
Yeah.
Weird.
It is very strange.
It's strange. I get a hot chocolate.
Oh, I got a bacon.
Oh yeah, there's
It's
definitely
there.
some bacon there. It's not overpowering. Smell, it smells like you smell as much bacon as hot chocolate.
Yeah.
And you expect that to translate into something that tastes mostly bacon with a little chocolate.
Yeah, but it's really more of the bacon's really more an undertaste.
I get chocolate, and then I get vanilla, and then I get a very faint bacon.
You're completely wrong.
I don't know where you're getting vanilla from. I get none.
Do you smell toast? Or are you tasting pennies?
I'm not having a stroke, Ryan.
Because you're absolutely wrong about that. There's no vanilla in there.
And it's not like a fresh off the griddle bacon. It's more like Bacos that you do.
Yeah, it's definitely a Bako.
It's not like a total artificial or awful type bacon flavor. Like we've all had some of the Lester's Fixins sodas that have bacon in them. Those things are probably the most horrendous flavored bacon thing you could get.
Chemical and with a weird aftertaste that stays in your mouth for ages.
This is definitely
this
not
is very
that.
much like a few weeks ago, way back toward the beginning of the podcast, we had that bacon chocolate popcorn. This is almost like a liquid version of that.
I can see that.
There's some definite resemblance. I think I
the
like that
artificialness of the
popcorn.
bacon.
I think I liked that popcorn a little better than I like
I'm
this.
finishing this.
Yeah,
You like it better than I do then, but
one thing I will say about this is sometimes when you mix up a water-based hot cocoa, you don't get a very strong, rich chocolate flavor. The chocolate alone, if you tried this, it's strong. It doesn't taste watery. It tastes creamy and good, and it does have the bacon aftertaste. And I was saying vanilla, I can't quite place. There's some other flavor some other note besides just chocolate and bacon, because it tastes more like buttered popcorn to me or something other than bacon. But it's good. I mean, it works.
Yeah, I mean, it's not fantastic, but I'll give it a 3.5, I'd say.
Here, Greg, do you want to set that off to the side since I'm done with this?
Yeah. But you're not a big, really sweet guy. You're not.
No, he's an asshole.
He's a total asshole.
Yeah.
No, but you don't like overly sweet foods, is what I'm saying.
I don't.
And this is very sweet.
It is very sweet.
It is very strong chocolate, I'll say that.
And
I mean, it's not great, but I like I said, I'll give it about a 3.5.
A 3.5 from Ryan. I'm kind of, this is one where it's right at that point where, like, if I need to drink this, it's not going to be a negative to me, but I'm not going to choose to drink it for enjoyment either, so I'm going to say like a 2.5. It's a very neutral overall thing to me.
Well, I don't believe in decimals or fractions. I'm going to give it a 3 because whole numbers are better, and you guys are full of shit. So, but middle of the road.
Okay, I'm going to keep that in mind. In the future, I'm going to rate something pie greasy wrappers, just to throw you.
God damn you, Erik.
All right. Okay, so generally mediocre. Are we ready to move on to our next segment?
Well, you have all these bacon facts. Do you want to share any of them?
Do you want to share some bacon facts? Sure, let's share some bacon facts. So, Greg, how much bacon does the U.S. consume every year?
The layman's term is a shit ton. I
believe it's actually a metric shit ton.
A metric shit ton. But it's done in imperial here. 1.7 billion pounds of bacon every year.
That's a lot of bacon.
That's a shit ton of bacon.
Yeah. I totally understand it, though. I mean, bacon's good.
Yeah, I mean, it's good.
Yeah, why wouldn't you? Where did bacon start?
Well, the Chinese were the first to cook salted pork bellies, and that was like 3,000 years ago, more than 3,000 years ago. So bacon is actually one of the world's oldest processed meats, and now officially the world's oldest processed meat with the death of Abe Vigoda last year.
I see also in your interesting bacon tidbits that a bust of Kevin Bacon was made from bacon and sold on eBay in 2010 by Ashley's team, a nonprofit group providing joyful experiences to young cancer patients.
So some kid with cancer's joyful experience was a bust of Kevin Bacon made out of meat?
It was funded by the sale of it. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, that might be my joyful experience as bacon sculptures.
Yeah, hey, people enjoy what they enjoy. If some kid with cancer wants a bust of Kevin Bacon, I wouldn't hold it against him. But, that's not how it actually worked. And I'll go ahead, I'll get, before we move on, I'll share the last little tidbit about bacon in here is during World War II, in addition to planting victory gardens, one of the big promotions for housewives was to save the leftover bacon grease they had because that could be used and rendered into glycerin to create bombs, gunpowder, and other munitions. And there's actually a promotional film out there starring Minnie Mouse and Pluto that chides housewives for throwing out more than 2 billion pounds of grease every year. And as they state in that video, that's enough glycerin for 10 billion rapid-fire cannon shells.
I can get behind, because I know Disney spent the war years contracted out to the U.S. government making how-to movies and propaganda, but I really sincerely wish that had been a Warner Brothers film starring Porky Pig.
Oh, yes.
Because how great would that be?
That would have been even more wonderful. I mean, that's good just knowing it was Minnie Mouse and Pluto.
Render me, people.
I believe that I might be wrong, but I think Porky, he existed during during World War II, but he really didn't come into his own as a prominent character until the late 40s, early 50s, I would say.
No, Porky Pig was the signature character for early Looney Tunes. And then they invented Daffy Duck, who was really hyper, and the cartoons quickly shifted to Daffy and then later on to Elmer and Bugs.
Yeah.
So, but Porky got to be a little more sophisticated in the 50s when you had Chuck Jones doing.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the 40s Porky Pig, where he was basically just a sphere with a head. It just wasn't that funny.
Well, there was with Porky the patriotic cartoon where he ends up saluting the American flag, which was kind of a throwaway piece of propaganda for that World War II era. But it got adapted by the 60s counterculture because the hippies loved the image of a pig saluting the flag.
Yeah, of course.
So it underwent a whole nother life in the 60s during Vietnam.
Yeah.
So I think what we've all learned here is that if you really want to understand politically disturbing cartoons, you need to talk to Greg and Ryan.
Interesting thing about that, I'm pretty sure we're talking about the same episode. Porky gives the Pledge of Allegiance, and Under God is missing because it wasn't added until the mid-50s because they were afeared of the godless communists. So they threw an Under God into the Pledge of Allegiance.
Which was written by a socialist in the first place.
Exactly. But yeah, I mean, in that cartoon where Porky is saluting the flag, the Pledge of Allegiance appears in its original form without the Under God.
Later on, the House of Un-American Activities Committee blacklisted Porky Pig for his communist ties, and he did not work in Hollywood
for
decades. Decades until he was brought back for the making of Spartacus.
Yeah.
So, so he kind of had a tragic trough there.
Really did. I mean, not quite as far down as like Dashiell Hammett or Dalton Trumbo, but I mean, he suffered.
Yeah, he did. He bottomed out. I mean,
it was criminal what the House On-American Activities Committee did to cartoon anthropomorphic animals in the 50s.
Yeah.
I mean,
And just for the sake of it, I say, go out and rent the version of Spartacus with Porky Pig.
Yeah.
Just in protest nowadays.
It did get cut a lot of his scenes got cut for homoerotic content. But
and
that was Kubrick.
he was also a terrible ham.
But yeah, I mean, Porky Pig, of course, the source of the famous quote, "Have you no sense of decency, sir?" To Joseph McCarthy.
Yeah, but I mean, when Porky was banned, it did start to turn the tide of decency. I mean, when Edward R. Murrow had Porky on after his Senate hearing or his House hearing,
it really did start to turn public opinion against McCarthy. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you had figures like Walter Cronkite speaking out against him too. Toontown was a different place afterwards.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's time to move on from this, though. I mean, we're trying not to be that political as a show, and I don't think we're going to talk about this much longer before we end up making a statement. And
Donald Trump is the Antichrist.
No, I think Julius and Ethel Rosenberg never should have partnered with Porky Pig.
No.
All right. I just want to move on and get off of this. Move on to accentuate the positive.
Julius and Ethel Rosenberg were the people who lived upstairs from Lucy and Ricky Ricardo, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And clearly, these two do not want me to move on to accentuate the positive.
We are here to derail you at every step.
Clearly. All right. I don't care.
You've got to hear our bit,
anyway.
our like 48-minute bit on 50s political humor.
I'm moving on regardless. And all right, so accentuate the positive is where I talk about one of those things that makes life just great to be alive. And this week, I want to talk about something really actually very bacon related because this is something that happens when bacon is cooked, and that is the Meyer reaction.
And how do you spell that?
It's spelled like if you were spelling maillard as one word, and it's mail like the stuff you put in an envelope and have sent.
So would have been a lot quicker of an explanation if you had just said MAILLARD.
Yeah, but if you think maillard, you remember it. Because that's just so stupid and goofy. You can't forget.
Maillard is also Porky Pig's online handle.
On Tinder.
We just need the callbacks. Ryan, you criticize me, but I'm just throwing out opportunities for humor.
Porky Pig, he sent me a pig pic. It was very disturbing.
All right. So let me go ahead and describe what the Maillard reaction is. That's what happens when amino acids and reducing sugars react in the presence of heat, and that's what gives brown foods their distinctive flavor. And this reaction is named after Louis Camille Maillard, who first described the reaction in 1912, attempting to reproduce protein synthesis as it occurs naturally. But what you as listeners probably care more about is this is what gives food the umami flavors, and those are those that often considered that fifth flavor, the fifth taste. Beyond your sweet, sour, salty, whichever one I missed. I got sweet, sour, salty, bitter. Thank you.
Ryan's familiar with bitter.
Yeah, he of course he can catch that one. So when you get all those interesting, more complex flavors out of food, this is often what brings it about is this Maillard reaction. It's what makes cooked bacon just so tasty. It is something different than caramelization. That's what happens when it's just sugars combining and breaking down. And so normally what you'll see is this Maillard reaction taking place between about 280 and 330 degrees Fahrenheit. That's where it proceeds the best and fastest. It can occur outside that range. And it also occurs much faster if you're in an alkaline environment. Don't want to get too detailed in the chemistry. I think we'll lose a lot of people if I do that.
I think we've already lost a lot of people.
Yes, but what about altitude and barometric pressure and the prevailing winds and the dew count?
Irrelevant. So I want to give some examples. So if you guys like roasted meats, all develop this Maillard reaction. So that great flavor you get when you get a nice roast, that's this flavor. The flavor from fried onions. This is what makes that great flavor in roasted coffee. And then beers that aren't extremely pale. All those extra flavors that come into those beers are created by the Maillard reaction.
Gotcha.
So if you love all those great tastes in food, and honestly, I think, it's really, really rare to find people who don't like these flavors. You can find a lot of people that won't like really sweet foods, people who don't like salty foods, sour foods, bitter foods. It is really rare to find people who don't like umami foods created by all these Maillard product reactions. These are usually the things that people go the most nuts over. And particularly if it's in because bacon has it in a very high amount. So thought that was a great thing to share. All right. And I'm getting no reaction or feedback from you guys, so I think we just go ahead and move on.
That is great.
I'll never be the same.
I love learning all about that. No, I mean, I think if we couldn't roast meats or fry onions or have coffee and chocolate, at that perfect brown thing, I mean, the world would be a sad place with soggy bacon.
That perfect brown thing?
That perfect
You're
brown
a fucking poet.
that stuff that's, next
all that
to
preparation
that
for the podcast is really showing, Greg.
The stuff. So, I think when you have the thing that is brown by the other thing,
Oh, just stop talking now.
It is good. It is plus good.
God, it's like talking to a monkey with a head injury.
Wow. Okay. You know what, Ryan? I think we need somebody with a little more linguistic talent to speak for a little bit. So why don't you go ahead and have your segment?
Okay. This is a segment where I just talk about objective reality and basically things that irritate me.
All right.
Give a hard dose of cold truth.
Well, this is a safe space. We want you, we believe in free speech. We want you to be able to talk about whatever you want, Ryan. So please, go ahead.
All right. Israel and Palestine.
No! What the hell?
We're trying to avoid politics, Ryan.
Fine. Okay, look. Fandom Gatekeepers. These are the people who, and I've left fandoms because of this, I've got to say. These are the people who are supposedly fans of something, but are cruel, to other fans, to people who, say, have just gotten into something, people who maybe have just discovered something. They think that if you haven't been there since you were 12, you're a poser. Fuck you if you think that, you know? Fuck you if you try to keep people out rather than welcoming people in. This is a big deal on our other podcast. We do another podcast, Greg and I, specifically about a niche fandom. And I will say that particular fandom is more inclusive than a lot that I've known about. But everywhere you go in the nerdosphere, you're going to run into these fans who tell you you're not liking something the right way. Star Trek is the worst. Oh, my God. You talk to, and I'm a Star Trek fan, but if you breathe the fact that you really liked the new Star Trek movies as well as the old ones to some of these assholes, they will crucify you. You know, crucify. How dare you like that faux Star Trek, that J.J. Abrams garbage? Well, I don't know, because it's entertaining and well written. I've left fandoms. I've actually, I've continued enjoying the product, but I don't have anything to do with the fandoms because I've seen how some fandoms treat newer fans and how, quite frankly, they treat the thing of which they are a fan if they don't get exactly what they think they're owed. And you need to be an ambassador. You need to bring people into a fandom, not a gatekeeper who's there to hold people out. It really pisses me off. Guess what, Cedric? You're down in the basement with everybody else inhaling albuterol for as much as your life is worth, just like the rest of us geeks. You're not important enough to tell people how to be a fan. It just really, it pisses me off. That's all I have to say. Any additional insight?
Yeah, I think it born out of deep-seated insecurity.
Oh, well, that goes without saying.
Yeah, the need to put other people down while building yourself up with esoteric knowledge or just being snide or off-putting. So
yeah. And look, it is not the world's fault that nobody's touched your penis yet, okay? You cannot take it out.
Are you talking to people in general, or is that directed at me?
Well, specifically at you, but in general as well. But, it's...
Well, it is the bacon episode, folks.
No, it's... and I think a lot of it is because, fandoms in the nerdosphere do tend to attract people who... Not so much now, I think, in the modern era where nerds run the world. But, when I grew up, being a nerd, that was hardcore. You got picked on for it. And I think a lot of people who are the gatekeepers, actually, this is the way you're supposed to like it. I think a lot of those people have had, had issues growing up with being accepted themselves. And now, instead of learning from that experience, they've been waiting for an opportunity to be able to be exclusivist to themselves. And fuck you for that.
It's not just endemic to nerds, though. I mean, if you go to more, socially accepted sports venues, I mean, there are anoraks and neckbeards throughout.
Oh, absolutely.
The sports
you
community.
Can be a nerd about anything. You can be a nerd about the whatever your local footballing club is.
Oh, I've certainly seen those.
Club?
I don't watch sports.
When you say a footballing club, you're actually referring to soccer.
No, yeah. I'm referring specifically to American footballists.
Oh. Okay, so it's 1890.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we got some sports
Soccer
confusion.
is not actually a real sport.
We know Ryan is not a huge sports fan at this point, and which is perfectly okay. But if you are, just ignore him right now.
I mean, I can go off on football quite a bit, American football. I dislike that sport intensely. Everybody talks about baseball being boring. At least something's always happening. In football, they spend more time talking about what they're going to do.
All right, you know what?
Than they do.
I think
it's 30 seconds of unimaginable violence followed by 10 minutes of planning. It's like watching a board meeting interrupted by a knife fight.
Before you go any further, I think you've got a good future segment that if you hold back now, you can really give us one on a future episode.
Here's something. Here's an idea. Don't fucking tell me what to do. I will end you. Ryan out.
Okay. I think at this point I need something sweet after that. Ryan.
What? You're not going to let me do Tales of the Stupid?
Well, do you want to move it? I was going to do it after. I was going to eat first, so we don't have this like
Well,
long stretch between.
it's your podcast. That's fine. I could eat some sweets. I just thought you were rattled because for once you're the object of Ryan's scorn and not me.
No, you're still the object of my scorn.
I know, but the hatred was really laser focused on Erik for a few seconds.
Yeah,
which
it was.
I was enjoying the reprieve actually.
Yeah.
So, but no, go ahead. It's your podcast.
Oh.
What are we doing?
Yeah. Well, let's go to our Be Merry. I think we could use a little bit of a lift up right now. So, yeah, Greg, you've got our Be Merry thing right in your hands. You want to tell us what we've got?
All right, it is a tin shaped like a strip of uncooked bacon, and it says bacon beans, bacon flavored jelly beans. Okay, so is it going to be sweet? Is it going to be savory? Is it going to be somewhere in between? I don't know, but it's like a 70 count of jelly beans in a tin. You open it up, they're bright red. What does it smell like?
Probably smells like red number 40.
Yeah, it smells vaguely smoky, actually. It's like smoked salt or something.
Smoke and red number 40. I think that's what we've got.
Yeah, I'm not getting bacon at all, but definitely
It's
some
just
smoky
smoke.
smell.
Yeah, let's grab a couple each and
All right, so a couple of these jelly
2,
beans.
3, 7, whatever you want.
Or none.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you want to use your pass card, but
You know what? I hate having soft candies. I'm not a hard candy or soft candy. I'm more of a chocolate guy. I'm going to pass.
Really?
Yeah, I'm going to use a pass card. I don't care.
This? Okay, well,
Yeah.
I'm
this seems like kind of a tame thing to put a
Greg,
pass
Yeah.
card on.
I mean, I
Greg,
guess it's the end of the episode. It's the last food, so he knows that nothing terrible's coming up, so he can safely use it if he doesn't
Exactly.
like this kind of candy.
I'm going to be conservative and not try this nasty ass candy that you're trying to shove down our mouth holes.
Okay. Well, Len, Ryan, are we ready?
Yeah.
All right, let's go.
Are they chewy or crunchy?
Well, crunchy outside, chewy middle, like a jelly bean.
I actually really
putting
like these. I can't believe I'm saying it, but
What?
They're definitely better than they smelled like they'd be. Yeah.
I mean, they're not great, but I'll give them a
not great.
4.
I'm going to go 3.5.
Really?
They're good enough. I would actually, I wouldn't have a problem eating more.
It does sort of have an aftertaste like if you manage to encapsulate car exhaust in a jelly bean because the smoky flavor is really strong.
I think it's more like
But
that.
it's not that bad.
It's like the liquid smoke flavor.
I'm sitting across from Ryan in the podcast studio, and I want to point out that as he talks, he is breathing. His breath smells like liquid smoke right now. Like the room smells like a smoked ham all of a sudden.
Yeah, I think they use some like bacon flavor in here and some liquid smoke. Other than they got the balance wrong, where there should be more bacon, less liquid smoke. To be
I'll give you that.
that would be much better.
But I would eat these.
Yeah,
I think we'll send
then-
the tin home with you.
yeah. They're
Get
all
that.
yours,
Take
buddy.
it.
Get that nasty shit away from me. That's all I can say.
Lunch tomorrow.
I mean, no, they're not awful. So, all right. Well, now, Greg, you were wanting to do your Tales of the Stupid, so do Tales of the Stupid.
Okay, well, I don't think it gets much.
His name is Erik, not Norm.
Let me finish. Normally, I would say that was.
Now, here's an idea. Finish the word normally before you move on to the next word, and maybe we won't think you're saying norm. Does he look like George Wendt?
He kind of does.
No, Erik looks nothing like George Wendt, for those of you who
I
don't.
think you should do more trail running.
Erik looks like if Moby and Michael Stipe had a kid.
I
Which
have
is
been told I look
biologically
like Michael Stipe
impossible.
before. So,
All right. So normally I would say that it was stupid enough that we had to try these weird bacon bean jelly beans. But since we have kind of a bacon and Elvis theme going on today, I want to tell an Elvis story. I've told it on the other podcast before, but my favorite Elvis story of all time is that he was a huge Monty Python fan. And, I think of Monty Python and Elvis being worlds apart.
Yeah,
You know,
definitely.
Yeah, and I mean, I can barely process the fact that the original cast of Saturday Night Live hung out with the Pythoners, you know, and or Jim Henson and the Muppets. But Elvis, of all people, who you think of as being kind of dyed-in-the-wool and conservative in his values versus the Pythoners who were very liberal and British. But one of Elvis's favorite movies was Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Really?
Really? No, he was absolutely obsessed with the movie. He had a copy that he showed at the theater at Graceland. And so he was out playing football, at Graceland with one of his buddies. And he did a tackle and dive, and he scraped up his side and was bleeding, and his friends ran over to check on him. And Elvis said, "'Tis but a flesh wound, baby."
I love it.
So I just imagining Elvis quoting Python.
That makes me happy.
It makes me happy
Yes.
too. It makes me happy like a plate of crispy bacon happy. There's just something so magnificent about those worlds colliding.
Yeah.
So that's my tale of the stupid today in all its Elvis glory.
That is amazing. That's one of my favorite movies. So hearing Elvis with that,
Tis but a flesh wound.
I'm going to have a smile for at least to the end of the podcast. So then let's wrap up a little bit. We talked about Nick's Cafe. We didn't actually eat on the show. We went there as a field trip.
There's no way these computers would have survived us trying to bring these sandwiches into the show. They're very
Not a chance.
Yeah, very gooey peanut butter. So.
Yeah, but we had what is I think our second unanimous perfect 5 food. So absolutely delicious. Then we went on. We had the bacon hot chocolate, and just like both the things we tried in the studio today, they smelled like they were not going to be very good. Better than they smelled.
Yeah, but not fabulous.
Neither was fabulous,
Good, but not great.
yeah, definitely right where we fit in. Really, I think what we learned is if you want something that's really great and bacon flavored, you actually need to have bacon.
Yeah.
I think that's the real lesson here.
Bacon flavor and bacon are not the same thing. They're not equivalent.
No, I am sincerely glad because we can do multiple parts. So we can do a bacon part 2, part 3, part 4. Because you went by Rocket Fizz, the Highlands Ranch Rocket Fizz here.
Yes, I did.
In the Denver area. And you were sharing some of the bacon things that you came across. You came across a Lester and Melba cotton candy that was bacon flavored.
Oh my God!
That was like the combination of very many evils. It involved Lester and Melba, the soda people,
who have never put out a good soda.
No.
Never.
Yeah.
And they have dozens of varieties.
I will say the reason I didn't buy that was, on our podcast network, we banned Lester and Melba as chemical warfare.
Yeah.
It's a war crime.
Yeah, it's just those sodas are absolutely awful.
You feel sick after you drink them.
It's so horrendous. And I just, knowing that, I wasn't going to kind of skirt and gray area these rules just to get you guys to eat something nasty. In most part because I would have to eat it too.
Self-preservation.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't about not wanting to hurt you. It was not wanting to hurt myself.
It was knowing what,
Yeah.
Now, technically, you could avoid mutually assured destruction
by bringing it in and then taking a pass card?
Yeah, but that would only work for one podcast because there would be revenge on future podcasts. You just know it.
Yeah. And I'm not trying to push that.
We would be doing like a Sean Connery Chicago way thing pretty quick. Yeah, just complete escalation.
I will cover here. There are some great, interesting products out there around bacon that are kind of fun. That not all of these were at Rocket Fizz, but some certainly were. You can go find bacon Band-Aids. I ran across it, but not at Rocket Fizz. I've seen there's bacon jerky.
Well, that sounds actually kind of good.
Yeah, that actually does. I think that might be really good. If we do a bacon part 2, that very well could be on there. One they did have at Rocket Fizz was the sizzling bacon novelty exploding candy.
Bacon Pop Rocks?
It's basically, that's how people described it. It's basically like Pop Rocks, but like a long strip of Pop Rocks all kind of crushed together to look like bacon.
Why not get the bacon really hot and sizzling in the pan and just drop it right in your mouth?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, actually.
Ouch. There's also bacon mince that almost, it was actually a choice between the beans and the mince for what I brought in today. Ended up going with the beans almost on a coin toss. So bacon mince definitely out there. Bacon lip balm, because when you get those intimate moments, get up and get a good kiss, you want that bacon flavor.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah. There's bacon air fresheners because, everybody loves the smell of bacon.
I'm behind that in theory, but I think bacon is an aromatherapy when somebody's cooking up a pan of bacon because it's such an amazing scent.
But you don't want it all the time.
No, and an air freshener, I don't see how that could be anything but chemical.
No.
It would be artificial bacon. It would not be the same.
Which is exactly what we talked about today with how we rated things. The things with real bacon, absolutely delicious. Fake bacon can come across decent, but it's never great.
No.
But there is a last piece with real bacon, something I found. You can buy a chocolate-covered bacon and Twinkie.
That sounds disgusting,
a Twinkie
actually.
on a piece of bacon covered in chocolate. It does sound
It's
disgusting.
the Twinkie. That
I'd eat it.
I'm not a Twinkie guy.
I'm not either. But it was bizarre. And I think people who want to
Future
try something
podcast,
bizarre...
I tell you what, bacon or not, I passed on the bacon beans. You bring me one of those goddamn chocolate-covered bacon Twinkies, I will eat it.
I have no doubt you would eat it.
Yeah, why is that an incentive at all for us?
Because it sounds amazing.
That's an incentive for you.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
You bring me something that sounds sort of good to me, and I will eat it.
I know.
Yeah,
I'm a
whoopty
rebel.
shit.
I'm a rebel.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. You guys, let's clean this up. You guys got any final thoughts? Ryan, can we start with you?
Yeah, just every day I get through without killing Greg is a little triumph for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad to see you continue in your victorious ways. Greg, any final thoughts from you?
Like the Flannery O'Connor story, A Good Man is Hard to Find, where the shitty grandmother is only a decent human being when she's having a gun held to her head. Because I have Ryan in my life, I am thankful to be alive every waking moment.
And my final thought is, I'm not dead yet. So remember, until next time, eat, drink, and be merry.
Bye-bye. Peace out.